Namaste, and welcome to our continuing series of The Life Divine by Sri Aurobindo, with our beloved Ranga to guide us. We are on page 442 with Ranga's sharing with us, and then we'll go to page 443 today. So now we're on the subliminal self.
Yeah. Our subliminal self is not. Right?
And you've read it already.
Yeah.
But we have to
so
explain.
I'll read each sentence and we'll look at it.
Good.
Our subliminal self is not like our surface physical being, an outcome of the energy of the inconscient. It is a meeting place of the consciousness that emerges from below by evolution and the consciousness that has descended from above for involution. Now, we'll have a look at what he's saying.
It's a very important sentence.
Yeah. So what he's saying is that our surface physical being is a product of the evolution from the inconscient. The evolution from the inconscient has produced matter, universal life energy, universal mind energy. And our body is a product of the universal matter. Our vital is a product of the universal vital energy. And our mind is a small formation of the universal mind plane of consciousness. So there is a correlation between the universal and the individual. Now he is saying, but the intraconscient, the subliminal being, is not made by the inconscient in its evolution. It is a meeting ground of the evolutionary ascent and the involution of the descending consciousness. So that is something independent of the universal planes of consciousness. So you would think that, as we said, we gave an interesting image for that to understand that, if you think of yourself as a house, it's an interesting image because then you can picture to yourself what you are made of and how these planes of consciousness are all around you. Okay, so you are a house, okay, and you are normally, when you are in your normal physical consciousness, you are sitting in the front room and looking out into the street. The street is your environment, okay, and that also you are seeing so little of it. You are not seeing what's behind, you are not seeing what's 10 miles away. And the doors and windows are your senses. You are able to look into the physical world through your senses. If the doors and windows are not there, the physical world doesn't exist for you. Okay? Then your subconscious is a cellar. You go down. Things which you don't need or which you put it into the cellar. All the things which you have experienced and which you are not directly concerned with goes into the cellar of the subconscious. Then there is the foundation itself. The foundation is below the cellar, and that's the inconscient. So that's one way of looking at it. You have ground floor. Then the first floor is your mind plane of consciousness, if you want, or the self. And you can build on your house, you can build 7 floors more. You have the option. And you can do that by yoga. But develop yourself and you can build these floors. Option is open to you.
Through the spiritual planes of consciousness?
Yes, that's right. The higher mind, elemental mind, intuitive mind, overmind, etc. Now, if you go into your house, okay, you have a kitchen garden at the back which is open to the sky. Now, the open to the sky is a very important one because when you go into a subliminal, you are open to the universal planes of, and whatever is there in the universe is accessible to you. Whereas at present, you can't access what is there in the universe while you are lodged in your body-mind life. Sitting in your front room, looking through the windows and doors, the universe is not available to you, only a little bit. So you go into your intraconscient, what you call the subliminal, and there the sky is open to you. So you can access your past lives, you can access what's happening in America, you can access what's happening in Russia. Okay? So this is what happens, and there are very interesting researches done. One of them is the well-known Edgar Cayce case. Okay? You must have heard
Oh,
that.
yes.
Yeah. So there's even an institute named after him, and they are doing research on all his previsions. Okay? So some of them have come true. So this is what he's saying. So the intraconscient or the subliminal is the meeting ground of the involutionary descent and the evolutionary ascent. That's what Swami is saying. Okay, so now I go to the next sentence. There is in it an inner mind, an inner vital being of ourselves. Okay, there is in it an inner mind, an inner vital being of ourselves, an inner or subtle physical being larger than our outer being and nature. So our mind, our vital and our body is very limited. But when you are going into intraconscient, as I said, you are in touch with the universe. And the universe, there is a universal mind plane, there is a universal vital plane, and there is a universal subtle physical plane. So you have access to all these planes. That's what Chandra is saying. Okay? Now, this inner existence is a concealed origin of almost all in our surface self that is not a construction of the first inconscient world energy or a natural developed functioning of our surface consciousness or a reaction of it to impacts from the outside universal nature. I'll finish the sentence and come back to each phrase. And even in this construction, these functionings, these reactions, the subliminal takes part and exercises on them a considerable influence. So, we go back to this sentence. This inner existence is a concealed origin of almost all in our surface self that is not a construction of the first inconscient world energy. What does he mean? He means that everything that is other than your body, your vital and your mind, because these are the constructions of the inconscient energy. Your past lives, also your engagement with the universe, your friendships, your enemies, all these things are there stored in the intraconscient. All your past lives also stored there, because your past lives are not a product of the inconscience. They are products of your life in previous lives, of your life. So these things are all there in the intraconscient.
They are not a product of the world energy?
No. That's the thing. That's what he's saying.
Yes.
Apart from your body-mind life. So, and there, he's saying, not a construction of the first inconscient world energy or a natural developed functioning of our surface consciousness or a reaction of it to impacts from the outside universal nature. So all these things, it is independent of all these things, but it can store them. It can store all the impressions that it is there. Itself, it is not a product of these things, but it can store your interactions with people, your interactions with things, events, all these things it can store. Okay, so. And even in this construction, these functionings, these reactions, the subliminal takes part and exercises on them a considerable influence. In other words, whatever you have experienced goes into the intraconscient or the subliminal and has an effect on you subconsciously or unconsciously. Has an effect on you.
So if one is reading a valid newspaper, not fake news, one is affected by those things? Russia and
yes,
Ukraine and
yes,
Israel and Hamas?
Yes. If you have interacted with them, it will have an effect. You may have read about it, so that goes into the intraconscient. Or you may have seen a video, it goes into your intraconscient. Everything is stored there. That's what he's saying. And there what happens? There is here a consciousness which has a power of direct contact with the universal, unlike the mostly indirect contacts which our surface being maintains with the universe through the mind sense and the senses. So now he is telling you that all the information that you have got through your senses, okay, that also is stored. But all the information that you have got or your events that have happened by direct, not sense information. Information or knowledge which you have got without the senses. Direct contact, he is saying. I'll explain. If I'm looking at you now with my eyes and I'm hearing your voice, it is indirect knowledge. Because I'm between you and me, my senses are coming. So it's indirect knowledge. And that is why the indirect knowledge is very scanty. It is not the right knowledge. It is distorted and also very limited. But if I can look at you with my subtle sight, okay, which is possible in the intraconscient, like mother and stepmother are using, they look at you and they can see your soul. They are not using your eyes. They are not using their eyes and ears. They directly. It's very interesting. I'll just give you a small instance. Mother is saying that when people are speaking to me, okay, I usually don't listen to their words. Because in the physical world, some deafness had also come into mother's ears. So she says, the vibrations itself, I can make out what they are saying without the words. Now that's exactly the subliminal knowledge. That's possible. Simply by looking at them and feeling their vibrations, she knows what is their condition. Okay? So this is also what happens when you are at a higher level of consciousness. A yogi can just look at you and not using your eyes, ears, nose, no. He uses his subtle senses, direct knowledge he can get of your thoughts and your vital emotions.
This is very important.
Yes.
Because you may be a scoundrel.
Yes.
But the yogi can see behind that.
Yes, that's it. In fact, that's exactly the similar words Srimad uses. He says, you can know the intentions of the person in spite of his facial expressions. He may be a hypocrite and he may be smiling at you, but you can see that he lodges inside himself inimical feelings to you, and you can see that. Without reference to the facial expressions. Srimad says that in the Life Divine. Exactly what you said. Okay, so there is here a consciousness which has a power of direct contact without the senses with the universal, unlike the mostly indirect contacts which our surface being maintains with the universe through the sense mind and the senses. Clear? Okay. There are here inner senses, a subliminal sight, touch, hearing. Okay. Now that's interesting because even at our level, we have access to subliminal sight. When you are dreaming, you are seeing, you are hearing, but you are not using your eyes and your ears. So that is subliminal sight. Subtle senses. So these are the inner senses, a subliminal sight, touch, hearing. Even touch, he is including. Okay, so hearing. But these subtle senses are rather channels of the inner being's direct consciousness of things than its informants. Okay? Now, senses are only giving you information, but here direct channel of the being. So your being is contacting directly and knows what it is. He explains in another place also very clearly, the substance of my consciousness goes and identifies itself with the substance of your consciousness. Consciousnesses can merge. That is what is knowledge by identity. The substance here is merging with the substance there. Substance can be subtle, can be gross, Gross substances can't mix, but subtle substances can mix. Like 2 glasses of water or 2 jars of air, they can mix. So that is knowledge by identity. That is possible in the subliminal. Okay, so then it's informant. The subliminal is not dependent on its senses for its knowledge. Okay, the subliminal doesn't depend upon the senses. Very clear. They only give a form to its direct experience of objects. They do not, as much as in waking mind, convey forms or objects for the mind's documentation or the starting point or basis for an indirect constructive experience. Okay, there's something there that we also need to look at. He's saying the subliminal does not depend on its senses for its knowledge. They only give it a form to its direct experience of objects. Now, what is meant by that? When I look at you, I sense the vibrations. They are wordless. But my outer being gives words to those feelings that it expresses in words. That's what is meaning by form, giving form to the direct experience of objects. The vibrations that I get from you will tell me whether those vibrations are of hatred or of love or of sympathy or of an indifference. So the form given is it takes word shapes.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so convey forms for the mind's documentation or the starting point or basis of an indirect constructive experience. The subliminal has a right of entry into the mental and vital and subtle physical planes of the universal consciousness. It is not confined to the material plane and the physical world. It possesses means of communication with the worlds of being, which the descent towards involution created in its passage, with all corresponding planes or worlds that may have risen or been constructed to serve the purpose of the re-ascent from inconscience to superconscious. This also we'll say, he had explained this more clearly in another place. He says that when the involution is taking place, Satchidananda is creating planes of consciousness. This is the descent. Now, what is the starting point? The starting point is Satchidananda. Knowledge, light, consciousness, Ananda. So these are pure planes. There is no impurity in them. And they are a descending ladder. Then there is an evolutionary ascent. But from where are you starting now? You are starting from the inconscient. Darkness, unconsciousness. Okay? So these planes which are being created now in evolution are impure. So this is
they mix with
descending ladder and an ascending ladder. The two worlds are quite different. They can merge a little bit, but they are different. That's what he's explaining. See? He's saying that. Look at the words carefully, you will see that. The subliminal has a right of entry into the mental and vital subtle physical planes of the universal consciousness. It is not confined to the material plane and the physical world. Clear. It possesses means of communication with the worlds of being, which the descent towards involution created in its passage, with all corresponding planes or worlds that may have arisen or been constructed to serve the purpose of the re-ascent from inconscious to superconscious.
So then is there a confluence? Is there a connection between the two?
Yes, that's what he's saying. No? He's saying towards created in this passage with all corresponding planes or worlds that may have arisen or been constructed to serve the purpose of the re-ascent. So there is a merging of the two. Okay. It is into this large realm of interior existence that our mind and vital being retire when they withdraw from the surface activities, whether by sleep or inward drawn concentration or by the inner plunge of trance. So when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, normally you can go either into the subconscious or into the subliminal. So dreams are all in the subliminal. And they can be, if you are in an awakened condition, the dreams that you get are very, very valuable. They contain a lot of information which can be very useful for your waking sadhana. Okay? That's what he's saying. Or you can also enter into inward drawn concentration. There are many, many cases where in a meditation you see visions. And these visions are very meaningful. Okay? Or by an inner plunge of trance. So, in the inward drawn concentration, while you are meditating, you are seeing visions, and when you come out, you remember very easily what you have said. Many people are asking Mother and Srimdu about the visions that they have during meditation. But you can also have inner plunge of trance. When you go into a trance, your outer being is absolutely not responding to the environment. You have lost consciousness of the physical world. Now, Srimdu is saying in the next paragraph we are reading now. Okay? Our waking state is unaware of its connection with the subliminal being. Is only unaware, he is saying. Okay? We are not conscious that there is an intraconscious in us. Although it receives from it, but without any knowledge of the place of origin. Inspirations, intuitions, ideas, will suggestions, sense suggestions, urges to action that rise from below or from behind our limited surface existence. So, very clear, he is saying that your surface being is not aware of your inner being. That's basically what he is saying. And inner being is supplying many, when you are writing a poem, the inspiration that comes is coming from there.
Yeah, even he says ideas and intuitions.
Yes. There are many people, I don't know about you, but when you are writing the poem, do you get the idea first and then put it down, or it just comes through like a channel?
It just comes.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying. It's coming from the intraconscious, from the subliminal. You're not even conscious of where it is coming, but it is coming and getting recorded.
I'm not conscious.
Yeah. Okay, that's what he's saying. And these suggestions are various. Inspirations for poetry, intuitions. Sometimes you suddenly get an idea that, oh, this is the truth, or I should act in this way. So those intuitions also come from there. Okay. Knowledge of the place of origin. Okay. The inspiration, intuitions, ideas. Sometimes ideas also come. Will suggestions. You should do this or you should do that. Or sense suggestions. Okay. Your senses are coming. You are seeing something, but the inner being is saying that this may not be the right or this may not be the wrong or whatever. So that's sense suggestions. Urges to action that rise from below or from behind our limited surface existence. So all these things are coming from in other words, the subliminal has a huge impact on you unconsciously. Okay, so I read the next sentence. Sleep, like trance, opens the gate of the subliminal to us. For in sleep, as in trance, we retire behind the veil of the limited waking personality, and it is behind this veil that the subliminal has its existence. So, the veil of the limited waking personality. That's interesting because it's exactly like in daytime you don't see the stars. They exist, but you're not seeing. Why? Because the light is hiding. The light is the veil that hides the stars. So when you are in your waking consciousness, it's like the daylight. And it is not allowing you to look into your subliminal, exactly the same way. So when your waking consciousness is down, the daylight is gone, you see the stars. That's exactly what it is. That's why it is possible to go into the subliminal in sleep. Because in sleep, your waking consciousness is subsided. Okay, so that's what he's saying. It's easier to do that. Of course, you can access the subliminal even in a waking consciousness if you are sufficiently developed. Okay, so For in sleep as in trance, we retire behind the veil of the limited waking personality, and it is behind this veil that the subliminal has its existence. Okay. The image of the daylight and the stars makes it very clear. Okay, so. But we receive the records of our sleep experience through dream, and in dream figures, and not in that condition which might be called an inner waking, and which is the most accessible form of the trance state, nor through the supernormal clarities of vision and other more luminous and concrete ways of communication developed by the inner subliminal cognition when it gets into habitual or occasional conscious connection with our waking self. So, big sentence, we'll have to look at it a little carefully. But we receive the records of our sleep experience through dream. This is clear. And in dream figures, okay, very often they are symbolic. And we have discussed also symbols. Yes. Symbols can be conventional, they can be universal, and they can be individual. These symbols. Okay, so received through dream figures, and not in that condition which might be called an inner waking, and which is the most accessible form of the trance state. So, the dreams you remember, when you remember, it's not the information that you're getting in your subliminal is not exactly what you are remembering in your waking consciousness. What you are remembering in your waking consciousness is being interpreted to you by symbols. That's what he's saying.
And Mother wrote to me once not to convey this dream to others, as it could become a distortion.
Yes.
So that can be distorted by the mind.
Yes, that's right.
But true in the experience.
Yes. Okay. So he's saying what you experience in subliminal is not exactly what you remember. What you remember are the dreams, but the dreams are a little different from what you have experienced there. Okay, so translate, nor through the supernormal clarities of vision and other more luminous and concrete ways of communication developed by the inner subliminal cognition when it gets into habitual or occasional conscious connection with our waking self. In other words, the knowledge that you get there in the subliminal, clarities, he's using the word clarities, okay? Clarities of vision. But when it comes, sometimes when the connection is made between the subliminal and the waking consciousness, then you can remember exactly what you, otherwise normally it is through symbols. Normally it is through dream symbols. Okay, so the subliminal with the subconscious as an annex of itself, that also we discussed, no? The subliminal is the unconscious, the subconscious is below, and then the intraconscious is like that, and then the superconscious is above. There is a mixture of all, but very clearly this is below, that is inside, and this is above. That's why we will see very often Sridhar speaking of below, inner, and above. The above are the spiritual planes, the inner are the subliminal planes, and the subconscious is below you. Okay, so the subliminal with its subconscious as an annex of itself, for the subconscious is also part of the behind the veil entity. The subliminal is a seer of inner things and of supraphysical experiences. The surface subconscious is only a transcriber. It only tells you what you are, it is transcribing it. Like Shrevda is dictating Savitri and Narad is transcribing, writing them down. Right. And in the process, there can be errors. Exactly like what happened in
And there were.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's it. So the transcription into surface consciousness can be erroneous also. Okay? But if you have clarity of vision and you have got developed yourself sufficiently, you will remember the exact vision that you had inside your. But that connection is not made, na? Therefore there is a distortion. Is a seer of inner things than of superphysical experience. The surface subconscious is only the transcriber. It is for this reason that the Upanishad describes the subliminal being as a dream self, because it is normally in dreams, visions, absorbed states of inner experience that we enter into and are part of its experiences, just as it describes the superconscious as a sleep state, because normally all mental or sensory experiences cease when we enter into this superconscious. So, the three worlds, there is the physical world, there is the subtle world, and there is a causal world. So, these are the three worlds normally, if you want to look at it in a very broad manner. So, the physical world is a waking world. The subtle world is a dream world. And the causal world is a sleep world, because all waking consciousness is eliminated there at the highest level. That's why it's a sleep world. This used to be quite a puzzle to me in earlier stages, because your waking consciousness is really your spiritual sleep. Your normal waking consciousness is really a spiritual sleep. Why are they calling it a waking consciousness? I used to wonder. Okay, and the deep sleep is really your spiritual waking consciousness. So it's the opposite. But Shamla is explaining why it is termed like that. Okay, so yeah, for in the deeper trance into which the touch of the superconscious plunges our mentality, no record from it or transcript of its contents can normally reach us. So, that is so high up that normally it does not reach you. Okay, so for in the deeper trance into which the touch of the superconscious plunges our mentality, no record from it or transcript of its contents can normally reach us. It is only by an especial or an unusual development in the supernormal condition, or through a break or rift in our confined normality, that we can be on the surface conscious of the contacts or messages of the superconscious. You have to stop slightly there. Okay? You can be on the surface, our surface, conscious of the contacts or messages of superconscious if you have built a bridge. The bridge between the superconscious and the waking consciousness. If you don't build that bridge, you will never remember what you have experienced there. But by yoga, this bridge is built, and therefore you can remember what you have dreamt.
So if you remember something very, very high, let's say meeting Sri Aurobindo,
Yes.
in that place,
Yes. Then the bridge has been built, but this bridge, if it is built, you will always remember.
always, yes.
But if you are,
Even every word you can remember.
yeah, but not one incident. It must be forever, for all incidents.
It has to be full.
That is difficult.
Yes, very different.
So sometimes, as he is saying, sometimes you remember, because there is a rift in the veil. And in the rift in the veil, once you may remember. Yeah. Yeah, we all have experience of meeting Mother and Sri Aurobindo in the inner worlds. Those are rifts, because very often you don't remember. Okay, so it's only by a special or unusual development in a supernormal condition, or as Sri Aurobindo is saying, through a break or rift in our confined normality, that we can be on the surface conscious of the contacts or messages of the superconscious. But with yoga development, this bridge is built, and you will always remember what you have seen and that. But sometimes a freak dream where I have experienced Sri Aurobindo presence, it's a rift that has happened, and the rift closes again.
Or a gift.
Okay, so, but in spite of these figurative names of dream state and sleep state, the field of both these states of consciousness was clearly regarded as a field of reality, no less than that of the waking state, in which the movements of perspective consciousness are a record or transcript of physical things and of our contacts with the physical universe. So Srebda is now coming back to what he started from. Are dreams real or unreal? So now he is telling you that these experiences which you don't normally have on the waking consciousness are real. That's what he's saying in this sentence. Okay, so no doubt all the three states can be classed as parts of an illusion. Our experiences of them can be ranked together as constructions of an illusory consciousness. Our waking state, no less illusory than our dream state or sleep state, since the only true truth of real reality is the incommunicable self or one existence, Atman Advaita, which is the fourth state of the self described by the Vedanta. Now, what he's saying is very interesting. He's saying that the real true truth, and he's saying, look at the stress, okay? True truth and real reality is only at the highest level. The rest of it is all a diminution and a degradation. And therefore you can say that it is not true. It's a way of looking at things. There is an absolute truth and there is a transcription of that truth in a degraded form. At the lowest level, in the inconscient, it is totally degraded.
And he calls it the fourth state of the self.
The fourth state is above, okay? That they use the words waking consciousness, dream consciousness, sleep consciousness, and the fourth, turiya, the fourth. You can't even describe it. So it's a fourth state. So if they use the word tertium quid, okay, he also uses it in Life Divine. Okay, so the unknown last one, tertium quid. Okay, so that bridge has to be built. Then those realities can be experienced. Okay, now, the only true truth or real reality is the incommunicable self or one existence, Atman Advaita, which is the fourth state of the self described by the Vedanta. But it is equally possible to regard and rank them together as three different orders of one reality, or as the three states of consciousness in which is embodied our contact with three different grades of self-experience and world experience. So, you are free to describe them as unrealities, or you are free to describe them as realities of another order. So, the physical world, if you are there, it is unreal, but if you are here, it is real. So, it's a question of only nomenclature, how you want to describe them. They are all real in their own ways, in different grades. Okay, that's what he's saying.
Thank you. Namaste all. We will see you again next Saturday at the same time for the Life Divine, and we are on page 444. Namaste.